Welcome back to Limited Supply, the podcast where we get deep into the tactical and strategic side of e-commerce, digital marketing, and building consumer brands. I'm your host, Nick Sharma. I've spent the last 9 years building, scaling, and investing in brands. And through this show and my weekly newsletter at nick.co/email, I'm here to share everything I've learned. The wins, the losses, the experiments, the tactics, and the insights, all so you can unlock your next $100,000 in revenue. Today's episode is a good one, but before we dive in, let me tell you about our chosen sponsor for this week's episode. All year long, everyone has been talking about measurement and incrementality, specifically making sure that your customer acquisition channels are actually driving incremental customers. This year, everyone was looking for a new channel that has scale and drives actual impact. And at Sharma Brands, we test everything for clients. One that actually works, and I'm excited to partner with for limited supply, is AppLovin. Starting October 1st, AppLovin will be onboarding new advertisers who will be able to reach over 1 billion daily active users globally, with over 150 million of those in the US alone. Think about everybody who plays Wordscapes or Candy Crush, for example. AppLovin integrates your ads into their game experience where it feels natural. To stay in the loop about product features, creative best practices, and how other advertisers are using the platform, go to nick.co/applovin. That's nik.co/applovin. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Limited Supply. This week we have something fun. I'm actually traveling right now. You can see I'm in a very fancy suit if you're on YouTube. And so what we're going to do is today we're actually going to take a Q&A that we did in the live or as a live session in the Limited Supply community with a number of you. And we just went through a bunch of questions, everything from how to set up campaigns to what I would do strategy-wise if I was selling, a really high AOV product versus a really low AOV product, and everything in between. So it's a nice 30 to 40-minute listen. Most of the time I'm reading the questions. A couple of the times some of the other people pop in and read the questions. So check it out. Hopefully you get some value out of it, at least a couple of nuggets. And if you have any questions, hit me on DM on Twitter at Mr. Sharma. Otherwise, enjoy the episode, and I'll see you next week. Okay, cool. So first one is the meta decline real? Meta decline, I don't know that there's like a meta decline. I think there's a decline in terms of, or just a shift, I would say, in terms of like where the investment for meta has to be for meta to work. It's a lot less on media buying or what maybe previously worked, like on the technical side, and a lot more focused on the overall creative and offer and messaging, and just trying to figure out what aligns there. The other thing I've seen is obviously like brands that have a good organic presence, they fly, 10 times more efficiently on the paid side. So the brands that are like good brands don't really feel any sort of decline. In fact, if anything, they maybe get somewhat of an advantage. But a lot of the brands that don't have a good like brand presence or organic presence or don't have any of that, they for sure, like if you're previously were a product that was selling on Meta, then and you didn't have a strong brand because you didn't need it, you definitely feel that now. Hopefully that makes sense. All right. Somebody asked, how important do you feel building a community around your brand is? Well, community, I think it depends, because I think there's also different ways to build community. Like I don't know what you guys tend to think when you think about building community, but like what I think about is the old school, run clubs or like IRL events or, kind of these very much smaller things that, maybe don't have like direct return, but there's other ways to build community that I think have interesting payoff. I mean, like, if you look at Dude Wipes on Twitter, just their Twitter game could be considered building community in a way. I think community is like a weird word that was created around that 2018 period of like outdoor voices and whatnot. But I think the real or a better word for it is just kind of thinking about like non-return, investments that are focused on smaller groups, like how do you basically strengthen the relationship between the brand and a smaller group of consumers? So, Lemmy, which is a supplement brand, founded by Kourtney Kardashian. So one of the co-founders is this guy, Simon Huck. And, he has a house in Montauk. And what he does is like every month or every quarter, he does like a big dinner where he gets, some of their best customers from Lemmy or creators that are in the Lemmy ecosystem and like, fosters community, builds community by hosting dinners there. For others, like I've seen tech companies do it. SaaS companies in this space, they'll do it by, buying a table to go see Zed and bringing 12 brand people. Like that's a form of building community, right? So building community, I think, is definitely important because I think it just reinforces brand / trust. And, again, if somebody's looking at two products and, one has a stronger brand, that one will win. But I don't think it necessarily has to be like random events or things that are costly. You can do community in ways that, just gets people excited about the brand in ways that are probably more scalable and cost efficient too. That said, I think community is something that like is great to focus on as you're finding something that works on the acquisition side. Like either people tend to invest in community first because like as they're building a brand, they're not a performance marketer. All they think about is their product is so fucking good. There has to be a group of people that love it. So like those people who start companies, they tend to find a very small cohort of customers to start with, and then they slowly grow it. And then, by the time they turn ads on, like Set Active is a great example of that. By the time they turn ads on, their ROAS is through the roof because they've got an insane amount of social proof. And then the other type of way most brands do it is as they figure, they find something that works on the performance side and they're like, holy shit, this is working. Wait a second, we got to build our brand. Right. And so then they try to figure out, okay, we've got all these customers coming in. What can we start doing to like strengthen that relationship so we can further, upsell products down the line or, figure out different things to do. But yeah, honestly, it really is like clientele, like a lot of like, actually, I think that's an interesting thought because one thing I noticed too is anytime you talk to a brand that is a luxury brand, like if I've talked to basically any luxury brand, they don't call their customers, they call them clients. And that really is what the community piece is. It's like you're just building that relationship with your client. It's like, how do you keep them in mind? The same way that like I have a guy at Nordstrom, right? And like he'll send me stuff that he thinks I might like or that I might be interested in. And that's really all community is. It's just like, how do you strengthen it by just like kind of showing them you give a shit a little bit. It's probably the best way to put it. All right, cool. So let's see. Next one is best way to start and grow a brand that is bootstrapping with about 2,500 on marketing. What would be your step-by-step process to turn 2K into more money to reinvest into continued marketing? Okay, so I would say $2,500. You're not going to be spending that on ads unless that is just your ad budget. If that's your ad budget, then I would, just run a very simple funnel setup depending on what the product is. But if it's not, and if that's your entire budget, then I would say focus on trying to crack the code organically. There's enough tools that exist between AI and like tools that can help you make content where you can put out a bunch of content, test what works, and start to get traction that way before you start to spend money on ads. The only people who should be spending money on ads are people who, and I mean like right when they start their brand, are people who have already proven that there's like a very easy paid media market fit. Like for example, if you were to launch a brand in the longevity supplement space right now, you could start with paid ads because there's an amazing, paid media fit right there for that product. But if you're not, then you should definitely try to figure out how you get sales organically first, because that process helps you understand the messaging that works, the offer that works, what works about the product, how do customers want to receive or talk about it or see it be written about, versus a common problem is somebody launches their brand, they start running ads, they take what they think is good copy or good creative, and they spend, $25,000, within a couple weeks, and they never had time to first understand if that copy works. Does that positioning work? Is this audience the right audience? Like anytime you get a brand book or a visual identity book, think about the kids. They're like, not kids, but like they're designers sitting in a conference room or at a computer, right? They're not your customer. So whatever they say about headlines and illustrations and whatnot, it's a very educated and it's there for a reason, but like you can't just take their headlines and then test that into ads, which is what a bunch of people do. They lose a lot of money real fast. But yeah, does that sort of answer that question?
Yeah, Nick, I'm here. Thanks for answering the question. If I can follow up real quick.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's pretend like a brand is starting from literally ground zero. I'm in the pet space. I'm an animal scientist, so I have a little bit of credibility there. But the point is, if I'm starting from zero, I'm in local farmers markets right now, trying to just get at least product validation. And the question was like, all right, let's say I got bootstrapped, I got $5,000 in the bank, I validated my product at local markets. Now, what are the best next steps online? Now, once I try to, put gasoline on the fire, and I'm hearing obviously social organically is one of those big marketers things, but basically in the pet space, dog treats are obviously a big competitive market. But long story short, without going too far, that's my question. Like in the pet space, like what's the best way? I know UGC is a good thing in pets. Yeah, that's where I was coming from.
Yeah, I would say like, first, before you deploy any dollars into traffic, like first invest in having a really good store. Really good, is it one main supplement? Is it like a single SKU type thing?
Single SKU for now. Yep.
Cool. So like, build a really amazing landing page, and sort of have that be validated in some way. And then because you have the farmer's market, you can also leverage that to grab a lot of content, like get like a lot of those if you just even set up a camera that's recording the entire session of the farmer's market and clip that up later, that will be your best content. Or it'll definitely help get views and whatnot. But you like if you've only got a small budget, $5,000, I would start with that. Try to build it organic. First, make the store really good. Know that it works well. Make sure all the info required for a good supplement page is on there. Look at every other dog supplement brand that's doing well. And you can see that by how many ads that, if they're running a decent amount of ads in Facebook ads library, it's a good signal. Look at the pages they're driving traffic to. Look at all the sections they have. Make sure that that's there. And then you can start throwing up content. You can give people a URL to go to and see how it converts. And then if you see it start to work well, then you can start putting, honestly, like you could do what, who does this? Like Comfort Hoodies does this, whatever that they put out organically that does well, they just put paid behind that. They don't put new ads from scratch. It's just whatever does well, they just put ads behind or ad dollars. So that way you're like testing and validating a creative. If it works and it gets, views or engagement above the baseline of what you're normally getting, then, maybe put $100, $200 behind it. So
Appreciate that, Nick. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Jennifer, I'm not sure the dinners at Zootopia. What's that?
Ryan was talking about how he's basically kind of building his motion to show that he can sell it first and also infuse it with brand equity. And I was thinking, that's exactly what Nick is talking about right here. And that whole, can you sell it first, one-to-one? Is there something as far as a spark in brand equity? And I was curious, since you were just explaining kind of the digital side of that, as far as some places, that wouldn't be so obvious. What would be some places that wouldn't be so obvious in terms of like having those kind of connections if you're doing that in real life, other than a farmer's market, that aren't going to be overhead?
It's a good question. Some brands do like pop-ups. I mean, a lot of brands during the COVID era actually facilitated a lot of community stuff through like Facebook groups. I don't know how hot that is as a tactic anymore. I think that's died down a lot since like people are not just stuck on the computer all day. But I also think it's something that's so like overplayed by a lot of brands. Like, every brand is trying to do something to get involved with their customers. And to be honest, most customers don't give a shit. They're just like, give me my leggings and let me go
like
my way.
If there's like if there's like an event to it, like I'm here in Austin, and so Bill Murphy and Willpower are here, and he's like basically doing that with a lot of CPG brands, and it's really focused around wellness, so that's connected back into like yoga classes and pickleball and 5Ks. Totally makes sense.
Totally.
It's one of those like foam, and totally. And he's been working on it for the last year and a half, I think, in terms of really trying to find his market fit. But you're right. Some of these others, it's kind of like, what kind of loyalty do you have?
Totally.
So I was just kind of curious. Like the one thing I have not seen anybody do in terms, especially of like tech or like IoT side, is somebody come along and go, let's do a version, and it looked like this was supposed to happen a while back and didn't. Let's do a version of like, what Amazon was trying to do with like Amazon Go and their stores that had like that had products in them that were 4 stars.
Oh,
But who's to say that you couldn't get just a group of brands together and do that? It's just it would, it'd be overhead. So I was just curious. I was just curious if you had any other, I don't know, any other insights that might be like turning it on its head.
Yeah, not many. I feel like my brain's not the strongest with community stuff, but honestly, like for me, it just always comes back to like this is, I think, where personification of brand is also important. Like if you were the brand, like I always, if I were to host an event for like a community style event in our industry for my agency, I would just do something that I would find enjoyable myself. And
oh my gosh, yes, because you are part of that brand. Yeah,
exactly. And that's where I think also, that's where I think also every brand needs to have that kind of like personified profile. That's also like, if I was Liquid IV, what would my version of like going out and doing something fun be? Would it be like boat day? Would it be hosting that 5K like you mentioned? Or would it be like an influencer dinner, which is definitely more the vibe of like Lemmy? Like I think I think at the end of the day, it just comes back to like, okay, what is your brand what makes sense and what is authentic for your brand persona? Like, Liquid Death, for them, it's probably like throwing a concert, and inviting a bunch of like Liquid Death fans or customers to come. But the corny ones are like when they do like a yoga thing or something like that.
Well, it reminds me of one of my first roles, like years ago. I worked for a shoe designer who's retired now, and he founded a luxury brand, and it used to be kind of like not a luxury brand, more like your grandma's shoes brand. Yeah. But basically, during like New York Fashion Week, they had him hanging out in Manhattan, and he loved to play ping pong. So he was there like on, I don't know, the 5th floor of like Saks playing ping pong and signing shoes.
Yeah, that's sick.
Very cool. Yeah.
All right. So next question comes from Tyler. Have you been testing third-party pages for brands to run ads from? And if so, what best practices would you recommend with them? So I'm assuming that Tyler's talking about like whitelisting from creators or really any kind of third-party page. So 100%, I've talked about this for like 8 years at this point. If you're not doing this, you're just like losing out on easy efficiencies. Whether you run an ad if you run an ad from your brand, it's like your brand is trying to say it's the best thing. If you run it from any other profile, your click-through rate will go up. And if you can run it from a profile that is somewhat more aligned to the audience you're going after, then it goes up even higher. So like, I'll give you an example, and again, this was in 2017, I used to work with YouTubers and create like whitelisted ads with them that from vloggers, because vloggers are really good at talking to a camera. So I would just have them record videos of why they like tint water. And then we would run it on Facebook and Instagram using their handles. And the click-through rate was like 3 or 4x. The CPMs went down. The overall CAC was like, usually 30 to 40% less. And you can do that with creators, and you can do it with their handles. At one point, I just started to get as many creator and influencer handles into our business manager as possible, because I would tell them, I'm going to run, 1 million impressions a week behind your page. If you want it, you'll get all the followers. And for us, obviously, we got way better rates, engagement rates, and click-through rates and whatnot. You can also run it with pages that make no sense. Like at one point, I tried paying Jay Sean, the guy who made that song Down, 15 grand a month to use his page, and we ran ads with it. And the hypothesis was like, if we have bigger celebrities like talking and posting about it, this was also at a time where I remembered a lot of the Kardashian pages and like OG celebrity Facebook pages were posting links to viral publisher traffic. So like it just had a higher click-through rate. And anyways, the concept of whitelisting works insanely well, and you can use it with a small influencer. You can do it with a verified influencer. You can do it with your own account. You can do it with your dog's account, and you can even do it with a meme page. You could create a fake publisher page. You could create a publisher called shetolduss.com, and you could have the ads come from She Told Us, a recommendation publication, some bullshit like that. And anyways, it happened. It already happens. It's not like this doesn't happen. So you might as well jump on the train. But all that works really well. And if you could even like start posting, if you post some content on those pages, I'm sure that'll work well. But if nothing else, like use your own personal Instagram account, and I guarantee you'll see better CTR. So yeah, whitelisting or using these third-party pages, 100% recommend. Yeah. Any questions there? Cool. All right. Next question is about mid-90s, which is women's bamboo sleepwear, about 2 million a year, launched in May. Challenges client acquisition. Okay, so some mid-90s people here. Well, theirs is very specific. It basically says that, their challenge is client acquisition. They're launching meta ads, 8 UGC creators, 2 to 3 videos each. They scheduled a pop-up in September. They've done 1 live shopping session with 10 sales. They had 2 creators get views and no sales, 3 Mother's Day gift guides and a back-to-school gift guide, no sales, big PR outreach. Honestly, this sounds like a problem of product market fit, not that your ads are not working. There's a huge problem with who you're selling to, what they're clearly in the market for, what you're offering to them, potentially maybe around your price point, how your website flows. This is not like a optimization issue of figuring out, where in the funnel there's a leaky bucket. This is the whole bucket ain't working. So I would probably honestly, the way I would diagnose it is just see where in that funnel is the thing not starting. So it seems like it's not even starting in the paid ad side. Like no one's clicking through, no one's really interested. So my recommendation would be to just test a bunch of stuff. You're probably not testing enough. And it's probably too early to test with UGC creators. Like you should just test with statics in Figma. You can make 4 or 5 templates in Figma. Layouts and run ChatGPT and come up with 60 lines of copy and put them in and export them, upload them to Facebook, and figure out which one starts to get a click through, and then double down that way. Next one, pet care, $0 bootstrapped. Oh wait, I think we just went through. Okay, so what are 3 most important areas for a brand that is starting out with no funding? We're trying to validate our idea, but once we do, how do we try and scale profitably? I think just same thing I said earlier. I would just focus on trying to figure out the organic flywheel. Your advantage here too is pets. The pet space does really well from an organic standpoint. I know that there's a brand called Dog is Human, which I think rips organically. There's one called forgetting the name, but it's about to go into Walmart. But anyways, pet brands do really well organically. So I would just try to focus on that. Don't necessarily try to win the paid game right away. If you do want to go into the paid game, because maybe you realize that hey, the product market fit is really good, right? And you want to just get behind it on paid. then focus on finding creative that works organically first, and then scale what works from there. Don't get caught up in the Twitter game of like just chasing paid dollars. All right, next one is creatine pre-launch, getting pre-orders to fund the first production run. How would you build an audience to get pre-orders? Use influencers with an existing audience and give them percentage of brand equity, run Facebook ads, organic content. Yeah, I mean, okay, so you listed out use influencers with an existing audience, give them a percentage of brand equity, run Facebook ads, create your own organic content to build up a following. That's literally 4 ideas. You just got to choose one. Unless I'm missing something there. Is Kyle here?
Yeah, so I was basically just wondering where to start. Like, what is the best bang for your buck on, between those options, or if you had other suggestions. I mean, you kind of talked about it already with the other question with pre-launch.
Yeah, I would say it depends, right? If you're going best bang for your buck, I'm talking $0 spend, then your own content. That's what Dan did with Create Gummies. It was just his own audience from Twitter and his brother's audience. If you have more dollars to deploy, then maybe you are seeding maybe it's like you have some dollars to deploy, not a ton. So you're trying to create content to get influencers or other creators to opt in to get free product and then post about it. That's what David Barr did, or David Protein Bar did. They made a big campaign about, hey, we have 20,000 bars to give out, or 10,000 bars, something like that. They posted it all over social. They had a bunch of people fill out a form. They got shipped a box of 4 bars. 5,000 people got it and all started posting about it. And then when, launch day came, they already had a massive wait list of tens of thousands of people. So I would say it depends like what you think your strength is. If your strength is heads down writing, then you could probably do Twitter in a way where you could build a little following on Twitter, talking all about creatine, the benefits, why to use it, how to use it, the myths of creatine, how to incorporate it in your life, build up a decent following, and then link it there. You could do that on other platforms, whether it's Reels or TikTok or Shorts. Or if you think like, that I don't want to do that, then maybe you figure out, okay, I'm going to go figure out how to get creators to want to come create. But the last thing you want to do, well, it just depends how much work you want to put in, right? If you don't want to put in much work and you're just like, all right, I'd just rather pay a bunch of people, then you got to spend more. But it's just a sliding scale.
Yeah, no, I like the putting up some work in the front end, and I think that's I just needed to hear it again, I think.
Sweet.
Yeah.
All right. Amelia says, we launched our product on crowdfunding and surpassed over $1 million in sales just on crowdfunding. But once we transitioned to e-com, everything was different. We had a difficult time to scale. Meta ads are not working as great. What do you think we should do in this case? Here's our website. All right. So let's see what we're selling here. We are selling perfect temperature blanket. Okay. So my initial guess is that in the crowdfunding environment, there's enough marketing and hype and excitement that the product actually doesn't, like, that is the trust and the social proof. But when they transition to e-com, that same level of middle funnel excitement and education was probably not there. So let's see. Okay, next one. Does anyone have experience whitelisting through creators versus running ads with their own creative? Okay, we already talked about that. That was for Ben. If Ben is on here and has any other questions, feel free to shout, Ben. And then last question, where would Nick recommend making landing pages for Facebook ads on my current Shopify store or another platform like Unbounce? I'm using my homepage as the current landing page, and most of the people click bundle builder that I've custom coded. I'd be open to have his criticism on advice. Okay. So Unbounce versus Shopify are two good platforms. Personally, I'm a fan of doing it all on Shopify, only because only because it's much cleaner, like from a data standpoint. And, every day as AI just gets more and more relevant, the more organized your data is and the more single source input you have, the better your output of whatever you do in the next 5 years, is going to be predicated on the data that comes in today. So anyways, on that thought, I prefer Shopify. But the downside of Shopify is like you need to have a really good Shopify developer, and 85 to 90% of Shopify developers that exist are mediocre at best. And so to get like really good Shopify development is not always the most cost efficient thing. You did bring up Unbounce, which I personally like because I'm like the one Indian who doesn't know how to code, and Unbounce is all drag and drop. So my personal recommendation, and this is what I used to do is, or still do sometimes, is do all your testing with Unbounce because everything is so drag and droppable and you can move things around and it's very easy to orient the desktop and the mobile. And you can actually work with a pretty mid-senior, not mid as in like average, but like a normal level developer overseas to make your Unbounce really nice and tight. And then if it works, then something that is proven, you can develop that in Shopify. And the beauty of that is now you have these proven modules in Shopify. So you only do Shopify once, but then because it's in Shopify, assuming you're in Shopify 2.0, you can take those modules and add it to your PDP. You can add, your comparison chart that did really well on your landing page to your About Us page. So you can just add those modules around as well. But that would be the most cost efficient way to do it. If you've got a really good, if you have some advantage where dev is cheap for you or covered or something, then you can just do it all on Shopify. But yeah, I mean, like if you're testing a bunch of stuff, sometimes Unbounce is faster. And yeah, I wouldn't recommend though. Like I wouldn't recommend testing too many other CMSs because again, you want everything to stay as much in the Shopify space as you can. At least for now. I don't know in the future how long like these extensive websites are going to be around, but for now, it's best to funnel everything through there. You know me, I only like to share things that are tactical, practical, and actually work. So that's why I'm excited to talk about AppLovin today. You've likely heard of AppLovin, but let me tell you why it's an exciting ads platform too. Starting October 1st, AppLovin will be onboarding new advertisers and soft launching their self-service platform. That means that by October 1st, you'll be able to reach over 1 billion daily active users daily. This season on Limited Supply, I interviewed Miranda, who scaled in $1,000 a day ad spend to $70,000 a day in AppLovin ad spend. The channel actually has real scale. To stay in the loop about creative best practices, new product features, and see how other advertisers are leveraging the platform to prepare for October 1st, go to nick.co/applovin. That's nik.co/applovin. All right, let's see. I wonder if we've got any questions here. I think that's all that was on that list, Shin.
Yeah, probably. I guess this is a great moment to if anyone has any question, just turn on your mic and then go ahead, ask the question that you might have.
Well, I had one about funnel analytics for subscription purchases. In Shopify, we use Stay as our subscription platform, and is the best way to do that through customer events and like writing a URL parameter into the thank you page or the post-purchase page that says subscription so that heat map or GA4 can find it? Or is there an easier way? I was hoping there was like an out of the box heat map or like some tool that I can use to build funnels for subscription only.
That is a good question. Have you asked the Stay team yet about that?
I haven't, but I will next.
Yeah. Do you have like an account manager there?
Yeah.
Yeah, just hit them up and ask. There should be something that's like a very easy either script or something that they can figure out because there's no way that request is not a common request.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, of course. Let's see.
I have a question. First, thank you, Nick. Your podcasts, your emails they just give so much value. I have a powdered oat milk company and we've been launched like a year and a half Just thinking about founder content, and everyone's like, you've got to build your personal brand, be it on TikTok, Instagram. When thinking about that content, like we've got, I don't know, 4,500 followers on Instagram. Do you think all of that how much of that content should actually be connected to the brand and on the brand page? Like if you're doing content around behind the scenes and storytelling, founder stuff, like how much should it be separate? How important do you think it is that founder stuff lives on its own versus kind of being really enmeshed with the brand content?
Yeah. Well, it's hard to prescribe because I feel like it's like whatever just feels authentic. I mean, I think to some degree, you could say it's like maybe, I would say like you probably want, I don't know, 70% of things related to the brand, maybe 75 and 25%, 1 in 4 things are like personal life or kind of showing that you're a human. And then 3 out of 4 things are related back to the brand. Like some of the people that come to mind right away, one is Diana Cohen from Crown Affair. Do you know who she is? Or like she, in my opinion, I think has an amazing balance because the way she does it sort of like humanizes the Crown Affair brand. Like if Crown Affair was a person, she's always hanging out with that person. Is kind of how it always feels. But she, at the same time, she like reminds people like, I am a human, I'm not just the brand piece here. So I would say that's a good split. I do think though, like it has to be something that feels authentic to you. So like if the brand is your whole life, then I think it's fair for every post to be about that. And if the brand is something that like people know is not your main focus, then I think that it has the right to be the same in the content as well. It's just like whatever I think is really authentic to you, but also don't force it because I've seen a lot of founders try to like force content for the purpose of just putting things out, and then it just feels weird. It doesn't feel like it should feel like you're trying to bring a friend on this journey,
Right. Yeah. I mean, we're fully bootstrapped now, so it's very much a founder forward. We do all the content. My husband's a commercial director, so we create all the content in-house. And so most of it is me anyway. So it's just trying to strike that balance between like what lives in my personal TikTok or Instagram and kind of what, I mean, the brand's already all me, so yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, Diana,
well,
I love her stuff. It's all very much Crown Affair in her personal feed, but it's a different vibe, right?
Totally.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah. What else?
I'll jump in with a question. So I work at an engagement ring company. And we're relatively small budgets. So we don't have a ton of money to be testing. We are running some mid and upper funnel on like Meta and TikTok. And when I first started with broad audiences, it was really skewing to older audiences that were clearly window shopping and just like enjoying pretty rings. But then when I added in more targeting, like within demos, I feel like we're kind of restricting delivery and not following platform best practices. So interested in what you'd suggest for targeting when we know we have a relatively narrow audience, but we still want to have affordable CPMs and all that good stuff.
Yeah. I mean, so a couple options come to mind. One is like which is probably hard to justify, is just like go all in on, like brand, which is essentially like what the larger engagement ring companies probably do. The second one would be like tactically, you could test, maybe test things like I know this has been working recently. I just don't know for how long or how scalable it is. But instead of like targeting parents, you target like what's a good example? I think he called it like wine enthusiasts. Almost like some sort of a parallel audience to try to get after that same audience, but. I mean, it sounds like really like if you zoom out, you're basically trying to figure out how you just greater the pool that you're going after. So I would recommend like if you were to think one step higher, how could you get somebody hooked on sooner? I wonder if there's like any sort of like equivalent of like a old school lead magnet, or like a concierge consultation or something. I don't know. I'm just trying to think like what would a larger group of people benefit from that maybe have lesser intent at the time, but would allow you to hook them in and sort of bring them down. Not sure what that is, but I would assume some equivalent of like a lead magnet or something.
Yeah, sounds good. We have done some like founder created like educational videos that do well on TikTok. They just haven't really scaled in Meta. But I think you're right. Like it's creating content that is a little bit more mid funnel and less like salesy. And Jennifer, feel free to DM me the mind mapping tool. That sounds great.
Yeah, it's engagement rings is one of the hardest products to sell, honestly, on paid media. It's insanely hard.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of what we're doing is getting people to like go to consults and kind of like growing the reach of what we're doing organically, but organic social is definitely the main channel where people discover us. And thankfully, like we know our audience is there, so we are just prioritizing that more.
Yeah, I know it's not the same product, but kind of ish, maybe similar categories. Little Words Project, which makes bracelets, and for them, and even I would say for a lot of other like kind of more catalog focused brands, the approach of like it's hard to just come out and keep saying like, hey, we have the best engagement rings all the time, or hey, we have the best bracelets. But if you can create some sort of like a mini brand campaign that is just, bring some random, insert like Pinterest white girl quote here on a cool background, and it acts as like a brand campaign. It gives you the excuse to put out these pulses of mini campaigns and like another reason to go, I don't know, out with a message or something. But it just puts your logo and your brand in front of more people and not in a way where it's repeating the same thing.
Yeah, I like the idea of that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Like we have one question from Mordechai. He's asking if you're down to do a quick landing page roast.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. I'll send the link again here.
I got it here.
You can share your screen. Awesome. Yeah.
Okay. So where's this traffic coming from? And feel free to just jump off mute.
What do you mean, where's the traffic? Like most of it's coming from either Reddit or Facebook.
Okay, cool. And right now, what do you see as like conversion rate or like what's working, what's not working?
I'm saying our bundles are sort of selling the most. I just feel like either there's too much information being provided and just like people, I guess, like can't digest it. Conversion rate is a bit like on the 1.1, I would say. It's like lower. So I just think it's the lander.
Yeah. So initial thoughts is like, respectfully, no one's heard of this company before. So you're basically asking them to, pull out their credit card for $35. And not sort of like, or even like $50 if they get the 2-pack without first explaining what's the brand, what's special about this shirt, why should somebody trust it? The site design too plays a huge role in like immediate trust and, will this company steal my credit card as a question? And using kind of a basic theme does not help that. Not that it requires you to have a crazy nice website, but just some sort of like color, assets, lifestyle imagery, social proof. All of that is sort of missing. So you definitely have some reviews here, but they're all the way at the bottom. And to be completely honest, some of the best performance marketers work at True Classic. I would just go see exactly what their PDP looks like and look at what elements do they have that you don't have on yours, because they've spent tens of millions of dollars testing exactly what works and what doesn't to sell plain t-shirts. So between that, there's fresh clean threads, there's perfect white tee, there's Mac Weldon, there's Viore, Aloe, just look at all the sites. You could even have a chat GPT agent go through all these PDPs, write down all the product sections that they have, and then cross-check that with what you have. And most likely you're going to realize you're missing out on lifestyle content, a brand story, the why for why you over somebody else, going in on social proof, explaining the fit, the material, all of that kind of stuff. And then once you have all that, then you need to figure out, like, that's now answered the question of why should I buy this t-shirt versus another t-shirt? But then the other thing you have to solve for, which is why I asked you where the traffic is coming from, is wherever the traffic is being driven, you have to solve the question of, like, why should somebody care to stop and click, right? You don't have to sell them on the product in the ad. You just have to sell them on a click and like an investment of 15 seconds on whatever's to follow. So I think those are probably the two things to work on.
Got it. Just a quick follow-up on that. What would you suggest for a brand to do if they don't have much like social proof, just like starting from scratch then?
Since are your COGS low?
Not crazy low. I'm saying it's about a 2 to 3, about a 2x. Yeah.
So per shirt, you're paying about $15 then?
A bit lower, more like 10, 11.
Okay, word. One, find an Indian or a Jew and ask them if that's the right price. I feel like that sounds high, but I could be wrong. You may have some special material.
It's a special like fabric for like sweat proof. That's why, at least from what I tried.
Yeah. So like, okay, so like great example. There's nothing here that shows me visually that this is sweat proof, right? You should have a video of like a guy running and sweating through his head, but like nothing coming through his white shirt below. You need something that's going to really like help sell in that sense. And that also, again, that builds brand and trust and excitement. And, that shows somebody like, hey, these guys know how to make a video. Oh, that means they're probably not going to steal my credit card. They're a real company.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. But wait, to the social proof question, get a bunch of your homies to take pictures in it, make video reviews, ask family, friends, send product out to creators. But if you're on a real budget, like get all your homies to come over and have them one by one take pictures and videos in the same shirt. Like that's the cheapest way to do it. And, you won't spend much that way.
And just organic style, like completely, like doesn't have to be like high production, just like normal, like.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be high production. There's in fact, in like apparel, like if you look at even Aritzia, Aritzia's like social media game is entirely UGC. Even their, if you look at their TikTok strategy, they don't give a shit about their own TikTok. Their entire TikTok strategy is making sure everybody else on TikTok is wearing Aritzia. Their Instagram is the same. Their best posts on Instagram are like UGC bright and, showing the product off nicely. So I would just like find the patterns that work well for the same type of audience you're going after in terms of their social and photography and try to copy that.
Got it. And just last thing, does it need to be where like a person's talking in the background or even just like a video with an audio, like music is fine?
Well, you have to ask yourself, like, does that do the job of an ad? Like in whatever final form it is, like, is it going to drive a click? Is it going to get somebody excited about my product? Is it going to make them realize that they should spend 15 seconds on the website? If it doesn't, then I would say no. But at the same time, you could have text in the video that kind of does that job. And maybe then you don't need somebody talking. But the way to think about it is like, you should still record those clips regardless. And you can always decide later if you want to add voiceover or not. You should test both.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
Hey, Nick, I sent you a question. I don't know if you got it in the DMs, sorry.
What's your current CPA on?
It's about £26.
£26. And how much is somebody spending when they?
AOV is about £46.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, because we've got the bundle.
And
Most people go for the bundle.
wow, nice PDP, dude. Why'd you say don't screen share? This is a great site.
You can if you want. Yeah, sure, go for it.
No, it's okay. I got a bunch of tabs open. But all right, so your issue is basically do you continue to focus on Meta or do you focus on TikTok Shop? Like which one to focus on?
No, so I think we're going to focus on both of them, but I just don't know if it's the right strategy because, like, I probably have about 20K cash in the bank to spend on the brand, but obviously it's not much when we're trying to scale and we're not profitable on the first purchase. And we've also got to buy stock and stuff like that. So I just don't know if it's...
Yeah. How far is your CPA from being profitable? You're at 26 now.
So last month we were literally at break even. So, but this month we're like probably at 10% loss, but we've gained like double the amount of subscribers. So worthwhile in the long run.
Yeah. So is your 3 month what's the payback then? 2 months?
2 months. But I don't know if I should do like buy like bottles and tins and stuff and do like a better offer because the offer's okay, but I don't know if it's perfect.
Mm-hmm. How much money have you spent testing this offer?
So I spent like 3K on another offer and got literally like no sales, and then I spent like probably 7 or 8K on that offer.
That worked?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know what your expenses are, but it sounds like you're not that far away from figuring out something that works. Like you're pretty close there. And if you can figure out a way to add, 60 to 90 days of float, you may be able to continue at this rate. Because if your payback is 2 months and you're getting double the subscribers and you're only down on CAC by 10%, that's a pretty positive sign. Assuming too, you can probably still tighten up some of your like email flows that people get right when they sign up but don't purchase, and also make your pop-up a little bit stronger. Like you're probably very close with to being able to do something there. If I were you, I would probably, the thing with TikTok Shop is like you can't just turn it on and let it exist. You have to turn it on and you have to be on it until it starts to get to work. So, it's really like how you want to allocate your focus. And the same thing goes with the Facebook funnels. You can't do it with 50% of your attention. You have to go all in on it. Otherwise it just does not get to work. So I would probably, you're very close to, I think, cracking the Facebook stuff. I would crack that first and then try to figure out TikTok. TikTok's also an entirely different mindset and strategy, and the way that the mechanics work are completely different. So I'd probably focus on this first.
Also, like the only thing that converts is when we send traffic straight to our homepage rather than the PDP for some reason. I don't know if that's just like, I don't know if that's just because on one main static, which was converting well, that was the case, but I don't know how to split test it differently with the budget that we've got.
Well, your homepage does a better job of being a landing page. Like your homepage has a nice headline up top. It's got social proof. It's got 3 check marks of reasons to continue. Like everything I read on the homepage makes me want to continue reading it. Whereas as soon as I get to the PDP, it's like, hey, which size are you trying to buy? And, oh, do you want to subscribe? It's like you got to first butter them up. So it makes sense that your homepage works like that. And honestly, for a lot of supplement brands, that is kind of how it goes. Their homepage works really well, or like some sort of like a pre-sale lander page works really well. You could, if I were you, like I would take that homepage, I would duplicate that in Shopify and just start fucking around with the sections, change the headline, try a different version of creative at the top, change the review, change the, right now it says, what's it say? It says, more meet, optimize, train harder. Like try something else. Recover faster by giving your body what it actually needs. Try something where you change up those 3 checks. Your goal should be to figure out, like, from Facebook, how do you maximize the click-through rate? From the homepage, how do you maximize the click-through rate to PDP? And so all your tests should just focus on optimizing for that one metric.
Okay. We also launched like a third-party advertorial, like from a different Instagram account for like social proof.
Nice.
And that's like really boosted. But I only launched it the other day. But
Nice.
that's like really boosted the amount of orders we're getting on a new customer. But I don't know if it's really compliant, to be honest, because we're like comparing it to other brands. It's like a
well, just make sure that it's very clearly labeled on the publisher that it's an opinion-led publisher, because that is that like lessens any potential issues in the future from a legal standpoint. And then yeah, as long as you're not making like, don't say anything negative about a competitor, but if you're just like, this one tastes way better or this one dissolves way better, like anything that's subjective, those are usually fine. But I'll tell you some of the best like advertorial examples for the supplement space are this format of like 5 Reasons Why, or this like older kind of like BuzzFeed format of like, I tried the viral X and here's what actually happened. Like those types of stories do really well with advertorials. And anytime you see a good like a TikTok trend or format, sometimes a lot of those can be like translated to advertorials as well. So you could try to like turn those into advertorials.
Mm-hmm.
So like this one, for example, this is immediately selling you product the second you get there. Whereas like, even if you go to like a Business Insider advertorial, there's at least 1 or 2 paragraphs of like, setting the stage, giving some context before you go into, now here's why I rated, this one number 1. I would add that. In fact, my old trick used to be, I don't know if they still do this as much. I'm sure it like works to some degree, but I used to have like the Facebook pages for Insider Picks, which is like their affiliate publisher, BuzzFeed Shopping. There was one, I can't remember if like Well and Good had a shop. I think Pop Sugar had a shopping version, but like all the publishers that had their shopping affiliate Facebook pages that would cater to a similar demographic, I would have them all open, and every day I'd go through and I would see what did they post on their page organically that did well from an engagement standpoint, because however that article was formatted was really well received by the algorithm. So then I would take, I'd find, maybe there was like a handful of those every day. There's usually not many, but then I would just take that exact format and put it on the left side of my screen. And on the right side, I'd write an advertorial using that exact format. So I would see, okay, there's 1 paragraph explaining this, 1 explaining this. Then it went into like a compare contrast. I would just copy it. And that is my best recommendation, because then if you can create a piece of content that would do well organically on Facebook in a newsfeed, it will rip on paid media.
Got it. How do you know if it's done well on those platforms?
Because it literally has like, so it'll have a bunch of engagement. And usually what you want to look for is a 1-to-1 or a 2-to-1 of likes to shares on the post itself. So like when you look at BuzzFeed Shopping or Insider Picks, look for something that's got, if it has 50 likes, it should have 25 to 50 shares. If it's got, 1,000 likes, it should have 500 to 1,000 shares. Those ones that get shared a bunch, that's the format. Those formats are golden, like frameworks or like structure skeletons to go copy. Yeah.
Got it. Thanks very much. That's really helpful.
Yeah, of course. Another thing you could do just to, in the vein of whether it's whitelisting or better Facebook CPMs, is like run a, first of all, like no one posts to their organic Facebook page, which is such a mistake, because your Facebook page's engagement directly impacts or not influences, but like it contributes to your CPM, right? Like if Facebook knows that people love your page and love your content, then your CPM it goes down, because Facebook's like basically saying like, yeah, we want more of this. And brands that have crazy high CPMs, The reason is because like whatever they're doing does not vibe with whatever Facebook's trying to do, which is generally some version of keep people really entertained, keep them glued inside the app, basically like brain rot. So anyways, something I found that like helps is one, you have to make sure you respond to every ad comment, whether it's a positive comment or a negative comment or a neutral comment. If you can respond to every comment, it greatly helps your CPM. And then the second thing is so nobody posts organically. So if you can post, 2 to 3 things a day, and you can just schedule these at night, you can have an intern or an overseas person schedule them once a week for the whole week. But what you want to do is schedule them and then take those post IDs and just run like $10 behind each post. So if you're putting, 3 posts up a day, you put $25 a day behind pushing the organic post just as a post engagement campaign. It'll get some good social proof and likes, comments, shares, and it shows a positive, positive signal back to Facebook that like, hey, whatever this brand is putting out and talking about, it's well received. So, favor them. And the best way to find content that gets shared really well or engaged really well is, so the same way I just said, I would used to go to like Insider Picks and BuzzFeed Shopping and find what got high engagement there. I do the same thing here. So like if I'm selling, like when I was selling, I did this when I was at Hint. So when I was selling Hint, our customer, I used to call it the W, the wealthy women with kids, wine drinkers, whole food shoppers, whole wheat over white bread, right? So everything that this girl consumes, maybe it's DIY workouts, it's recipes, it's things to do with kids over spring break, right? Like I would just go to publisher pages on Facebook, Refinery, Well and Good, Pop Sugar, etc. And I would just see what did well on their pages already and then share those links. So I would like share a link to Pop Sugar, but I already know that this link got, 250 likes and 250 shares on their page. It's going to pop when I post it. And then you put a little bit of Facebook post engagement ads behind it, and it does really well. And the way I used to do it was I would do it nightly. So every night I would schedule the post for the next day. And then at night, at that same time, I would take the post IDs of the scheduled posts and I'd run engagement campaigns during the night. So by the time it posted at 6 a.m. and then 11 a.m. and then 2 p.m., it already had a bunch of likes, comments, and shares on it. And it's a very like low lift, it probably takes like realistically 15 minutes a night of work, and $25 a day or 20, you could even do it with $10 a day and spend. But it's a very fruitful thing that gives a good signal back to Facebook, but no one does it. And no one posts on Facebook at all for some reason.
So that's just straight on Facebook, not cross from Instagram.
Yeah. No, just straight on Facebook. In fact,
would you just set up a separate engagement campaign in your ad account just for this kind of post? Yeah.
Yeah. Call it like, the daily post engagement, your ad set inside, basically like the way I did it was I literally made ad sets based on where I would grab content from. So I had like one audience that was more tech focused, one that was more parents focused, and one that was more like, cool girl focused, I guess. And depending on what those posts were, I would decide which ad set to put that post ID into. But it's only like $20 a day, or 10. You can even do it with $10 a day, and it just does well. It also like keeps the page kind of active, and like Facebook definitely rewards that. It's hard because you can't like see the direct attribution. But like I know that when it's not being done, like you can see the bump in the CPM. Same thing with the ad comments. When you respond to ad comments daily, your whole Facebook engine gets 10 times more efficient. But then when you stop, then it like gets bloated up again.
Just quickly, are you turning them off every day as well? So turning them on and then turning them off after like 24 hours? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's an app that I used to use called Ad Espresso. I don't know if it's still around. I think it looks like it is. It's a really old SaaS tool, and I don't know how often it gets updated or if it even is still run this today, but they have an option in there too that's like you can have whatever is the most recent post on your Facebook page as of a certain time that you set. It automatically grabs that post and puts some money behind it. But to be honest, I would recommend doing it manually. Facebook 100% rewards when you do ad stuff directly in the platform versus through an API connection, which this is. And same thing even with cross posting. I feel like Facebook rewards when you post individually versus hit the cross post, even if it's the same exact content. I don't know why. Sweet. Well, cool. This was fun. Hope you guys got some value out of it. And yeah, if you have any other questions, we can totally do another one of these. Always down to do these.
Yeah, I'll just see. I'll just figure it out. Just one last thing. I'm going to post on Twitter just a screenshot of what we just did. If I'm going to send it to the community, if you guys can engage, maybe drop a comment, retweet if it's valuable, that would be awesome. That would just make our community so much stronger, so much better, so much bigger. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Nick, thank you so much for coming on. I know you're busy, guys.
Thanks, Shen.
Thanks, Nick.
Yeah, but we all love you, man.
Of course. Love you guys too.
All right. All right, guys. Thank you so much.
See you guys.
Thanks for listening. We'll be back next time to cut through the noise on CPG, retail, and e-commerce. If you enjoyed this episode, why not share it with a friend? And be sure to subscribe wherever you listen so you don't miss the next one.